Road under the lights. It doesn't get much bigger than this in Norwich City, and what a game we've got in store as well. Daniel Farke's Leeds United, the visitors this evening. Norwich City, of course, hoping to continue their upward lift in form under Johannes Torup. Leeds still haven't conceded a goal on their travels and have won 4 of their last 5, and all of that probably will give us a good indication of where Norwich City are at this moment in time. Welcome to the Pink and Channels. But you're watching on Facebook, on X, or on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll bring you the team news as it drops, which should come any minute now. But Paddy, just very quickly, again, with the knowledge that I'm probably going to cut you off at some stage, what's your expectation for that Norwich team tonight?
Well, to be fair, I thought he'd make one change on Saturday at Derby, and that was Slimani and Schwartauer, and he went unchanged, and they got the job done. But again, like Coventry, when Slimani came on in that frenetic period after half-time, they looked better and they got more control of the ball. So for me, famous last words, I'll go Slimani in, Schwartauer out, rest unchanged. Yeah,
I'm inclined to agree, barring any perhaps mystery illness or injury that we haven't been made aware of. But we'll see what happens when that drops. And again, it's just going to be a really, really interesting evening to see how Norwich City stand up to Leeds United, who have been, certainly in terms of the metrics, they've been standout really in terms of the division. The Norwich team is out, and I will bring it to you. And I think, Paddy, you are correct. So it's gun in goal, Fisher, Duffy, Cordoba and Doyle as the back 4. Nunez, McLean and the first start for Anis Ben Slimani in midfield. Sienat and Saints on either flank with Josh Sargent through the middle. So, just one change. Schwartau out and Slimani in. So run for it again. Gun in goal, Fisher, Duffy, Cordoba and Doyle the back 4. Nunez, McLean and Slimani the midfield 3 with Sienat and Saints on either flank behind Josh Sargent. The subs bench, George Long, Jack Stacey, Grant Hanley, Brad Hills, Gabe Forsyth, Gordon, Shorthow, Miles and Orson. So obviously no Ben Krezene today, as was revealed in the press conference yesterday. He's undergoing sort of concussion protocols, which means that players have to be sidelined after a case of concussion for, what was it, 12 days, I think he said. So he'll be out today and for the one on Saturday against Hull. So, Paddy, you sort of predicted it would be one change. It is one change. Given the opponents, given the type of game that we're probably expecting, that probably is quite a logical change from Johannes Torup.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to get the Leeds team news as well, and we haven't talked about it, but Ampadu out for them is huge. I think he's their captain. He's also their major influence. He's out for 10 weeks. Daniel confirmed at his pre-match yesterday. So I'm really intrigued to see how they overlay with the Leeds lineup. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. 2 more, please. Thank you, Daniel. Head of comms. Yes, there we go. So should we just quickly read that out, Connor?
Yes. I don't think we will bring you a graphic later on, but they have got Meslier, Bogle, Firpo, Stroik, Rodon, Aronson, Ramazani, Joseph, Tanaka, Nonto and Gruev. So some of those names are familiar from obviously that playoff defeat, but a few players out. No Dan James, who's out injured. Ethan Ampadu, one you mentioned as well. They've got a couple of others. Oh, there we go. As if by magic. It's almost like we planned it. It's Meslier, Bogle, Rodon, Struick, and Firpo, Gruev, and Tanaka, who's a summer signing. He comes in to replace Ampadu this evening. Nonto, who has been playing as a number 10, so it'll be interesting to see where he positions himself tonight. Aronson, Ramazani, and Joseph. Their bench: Carl Darlow, Joe Rothwell, Patrick Bamford, former Norwich City loanee, of course, Joel Perot, Sam Byram, Joe Gelhardt, James DeBayo, Sam Chambers, and Charlie Cruz. So that Leeds bench probably looks a little bit lighter than maybe what we experienced in the clashes with Daniel Farke's side last season. But yeah, I mean, Paddy, it's going to be a really interesting test for Norwich tonight, isn't it? And probably a good gauge of where they are and the progress that they've made under Johannes Torup over the last few weeks.
Yeah, which was his vibe I thought yesterday, that presser. But obviously now now with the Leeds lineup in front of us, going back to the Norwich point, I think Johannes will be hoping that a trio of Nunez, McLean and now Slimani can exert that control in a key area of the pitch against Leeds, because you look at the possession stats Leeds have racked up this season. It's off the chart, as it's
effectively number 1 versus number 2 in those stats tonight.
Exactly. And as we know, Farke is slavishly a disciple of heavy possession. So if you can deprive a Farke team of the ball, my mind goes back actually to, remember the Ellen Road, not the playoff debacle, we won't get into that too much, but the league game. They lost 1-0, obviously, but second half, Nunez and McLean particularly were very good and deprived the Leeds of the ball for at least 20, 25 minutes. It felt like on the night. It didn't come to anything, but you could sense the frustration because a team Casting Farker's image, want the ball. They don't want to be chasing the ball. That's not their strongest suit. So I think putting Slimani in there today, on the evidence what we saw at Derby, what we saw previously at Coventry, should give him that control of the ball. Maybe he doesn't have the more progressive thought process of a Schwartau to get in and around Sargent and be a second-man runner, but I think in this game, it's about retaining the ball, and through that, I think you'll be able to move Leeds around and maybe test for some weakness in a Ampadu-like defence.
And it's interesting, again, I think, thinking of this game in particular, two teams who see football, two coaches who probably see football in the same way, not identically, but those principles to keep the ball and to have control of the game. It's going to be really interesting to see how Norwich attempt to wrestle that, which is interesting why Johannes Hoftorp has retained those inverted fullbacks that we've seen quite a lot, and that has helped Norwich retain more control of games. Yeah. Derby and Watford here, of course, pretty famously now as well. So that's interesting that he's gone back to that. And within that, I thought it was interesting yesterday that he essentially asked you to ask him about Shane Duffy. And I think we've spoken about Cordoba and Doyle and Fisher. But Shane Duffy probably has gone a little bit under the radar for his performances in a possession-based team, which I think if you'd have told anyone that in pre-season off the back of maybe some of his performances and obviously everything that happened at the back end of last season as well, I think he probably would have been met with a fair bit of surprise.
Well, I mean, Johannes was once he teed up that question, the answer he delivered was pretty honest. He said he wasn't sure, I'm paraphrasing, but it was a case of in pre-season, not sure if he's for me, either in the 11 or just in terms of a general option around the squad. To go from that position to now, regular, started every league game and looked good. I said to you as we were watching the game on Saturday, it looks like he's been transformed in terms of on the ball, and we're probably setting him up for a fall tonight. But just his passing, long and short, it's clearly something he's worked on. And Johannes' answer yesterday underlined that, going back almost to the future and looking at Brighton when he maybe was better in possession, was maybe asked to do more of that than he was under a David Wagner type template. So he can do it. He has done it in his career, and he's starting to show he can do it here.
Do you think the structure is helping? Because when those fullbacks go into midfield, there are more passing options for him that are probably a little bit simpler than, as you say, maybe what he had last season at points.
Yeah, well, remember effectively what it was either Sarah dropping deep or McLean dropping deep, and the nature of it, because it was so disjointed, it was one or the other. And if they got overturned or pressured, then straight away that defensive line are under intense pressure, and
he's been asked to defend big spaces as well, wasn't he, last year? And that's just not his game. It feels like that partnership, Cordoba and him, they complement each other quite nicely.
They do, no doubt about it. But you do have to give him credit, because we know what he is as a centre back. If you ask most Norwich fans to describe Shane Duffy as a centre back and what his strengths are, I don't think passing would be necessarily top of the list or even near the top of the list, but
I think he'd admit that as well.
Yeah, he would. But as Johannes said yesterday, his approach to 32, is he? 32 years of age, almost been sat down and said, no, you need to learn new things. You need to add new things to your game if you're going to start in a defence for me. And he's gone away and he's took that on board, and his attitude has been right to absorb that and, more importantly, execute that. And okay, Oxford alongside Hanley was a very ropey start to the season, not just for them two, for the whole team as a unit. We know some of the off-the-pitch distractions that day.
Struggled.
Yeah, but thereafter, much like Norwich as a team have evolved, and it feels a bit more, particularly with Fisher going into that inverted role, a bit more natural, a bit more of a players in the right positions of the field and comfortable being asked to do certain things. He's ran with that, and on the evidence of Saturday, he looked like a ball-playing centre-back, and I don't think too many would have said that at most points of his Norwich career to date. So it's credit to him. But as always with Johannes, there's praise in one hand, and then it's we need to do better. We need to be better at things. He said it about Gunny, which was another part of the press yesterday, about he's been very good, but he can get better. There's improvement in him, even at 28. And clearly the same applies to, a 32-year-old, dare I say, veteran centre-back in Shane Duffy.
Other end of the pitch as well, I was going to ask you about Josh Sargent, because rightly, obviously, a lot of the focus was on Borja Sainz at the weekend and the hat-trick that he scored. But I think and it was pretty striking, actually. It's the first time I've spoken to Borja since he arrived at the club. I think English has been a little bit of a struggle for him, but he did come out post-game, I think probably as he had to do.
You could have done it in Spanish, mate.
I don't think so. Not with
people's lack of language skills in this country.
I've got a D in GCSE French. Yeah. That's about my linguistic skills, if I'm honest. But it was striking. The first thing that he said was, I basically thanked Josh Sargent for the role that he played in it, and I think when you look at Josh Sargent this season, he maybe hasn't got the goals that perhaps his general play has deserved, but already more assists at this stage of the season. I mean, we spoke about this a little bit in the podcast, but as a complete package, I think there's probably individual strikers that are better at individual things, but as a complete number 9, I think he's probably the best at this level.
Do you think Josh Sargent?
As a complete, yeah. I think there's better finishers and better runners.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think who you could throw in as an argument, but I don't think there is. Yeah, I think you're right. I think now some of the players who are in the promoted sides have gone out of the division. There, I mentioned a player playing for the blue team now in Delap. That was an excellent goal he scored the other day, but we won't dwell on that. But that type of striker. And also as well, not so much where he ranks in the division, but how important he is to this team and what Giannis is trying to do. And he's spoken about that again in recent weeks, that, it isn't about necessarily measuring Josh Sargent in he scores X amount of goals by the end of the season. His assist count is now better than last season. That tells you he's, again, a bit like the Duffy discussion, he's adding newer elements to his game, and his goals will come as a result, because as Giannis said, once his teammates see him serving up those type of chances when he could be greedy and could have a shot like the third goal on Saturday, if you're a teammate, all our science now, I'm sure, is desperate to lay on the plate for.
They've gone to a Turkish barber's, I think, as far as I'm aware.
If only.
Same here, so
But it'd be not. And on that point, I think I did see on the walk down the hill tonight that the US squad has announced tomorrow. Pochettino's first one. You would think he'd be in that. And I think there might be a game coming up in one of these next 2 breaks in St. Louis, which is where he's from. So, and of course, there's a World Cup not all that far down the line.
Maybe I'll get Adam to check this, but I think they've got a game against Panama.
Panama, they have. Yeah, they have.
So against Cordoba,
yeah. And potentially marking each other. So don't kick lumps out of each other, lads. But I mean, that's by the by. That's for another 2 games yet before we need to worry about the internationals. But yeah, there's
friendly.
Friendly, yeah. You said your piece on that on the podcast the other day. Not a fan, but what I'm looking tonight though is if you can get a dominant Sargent, because I think we'd all agree now, Leeds will be there or thereabouts again. They are a good benchmark now, even without Ampadu and 1 or 2 others. But if he throws in a really dominant performance tonight against a very good side, that just reinforces the belief that in him, Norwich have a number 9 who you wouldn't swap for anybody else in the division.
Agreed. And that probably brings us on to this game in general, because I'm sure we could say a lot of that about Leeds United's 11. Still, even the players that they've lost this summer, Somerville, Rutter, Gray, still an incredibly strong team, and probably one that I feel will go on and win the championship, which is why this is so interesting for Norwich, because if they can make progress and if they can continue with their progress, there we go, then they should.
I'll just give everybody a little.
There you go. They are there. So as a memento, they're always in the bag now, aren't they?
Well, as somebody said, was it Jeff Man said, if they get beaten, it's on me because I haven't.
Did you bring them to Swansea?
They're in every bag, Connor. And
they were in Swansea.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So that just proves the point. Completely ridiculous.
Maybe.
So anyway, move it on.
But yeah, anyway, in terms of this game, it gives us a real marker, because if Norwich can come out, be competitive, control the game in the way that we know that they like to do under Giannis, then that's going to feel like a big step, isn't it, for them as a group of players compared to where they were against Swansea, where they were against Oxford, and probably add a lot more confidence to what they've done over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to lead him down the path of, is it too early to build this up as some sort of promotion shootout? And
yes, was the answer.
Yeah, well, it was. But as he said, you get 3 points tonight. It's 3 points, the same as it was at Derby. So you understand it. He did then go on to add that, of course, we can all see that Leeds are going to be one of them benchmarking teams. So while it is too early, by the same token, you get a result tonight and you deserve to get a result following on from 2 wins on the spin, then I think it is right to feel that, okay, maybe we can happily raise our expectations of where this season might have ended up, i.e. maybe a transitional round the top 10. If you're beating teams like Leeds and you've been the first team to score at Derby in 7 games and first team to win in 10, then why not? Why can't we talk about Norwich in the same conversation as Leeds and Sheffield United and West Brom now and Middlesbrough and Sunderland? That would be a real positive leaving here tonight if we're able to have that conversation and realistically feel that Norwich are in the conversation. Score. Well, after saying all of that, I mean, I had it in my. I was thinking about this at lunchtime when I thought 2-1 Leeds, but now I've got it, and I'm carried away with hot chocolate and positivity. I'm gonna say I was gonna say it's a draw So in other words, both teams can go away and feel that they're keeping the ship on the road, as it were, or the boat in the water. But I could see Leeds coming here and getting a result, just because I feel maybe they're a bit further along that evolutionary path under Parker. Understandably, it's season 2. But would I be surprised if Norwich do the business? Not, absolutely not. But maybe when the dust settles, a draw is probably reflective of where these two teams are at the minute. You, Connor?
Yeah, I think Leeds are going to win tonight. Has been my feeling all day. But, and there is a but to this. I think if Norwich City can win here this evening, then I think there is a case for Norwich City fans to start getting very excited about what this team are doing and how they're playing, particularly if they can do it their way and if they can impose their game onto it. I just feel at this stage of where Norwich are, like what you said, compared to where Leeds are, just think Leeds are going to be a little bit too strong for them at this stage of their development. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 Leeds win on the basis that I think it'll be 2-1. Norwich will push, and I think they'll get one on the counter. So that's where I'm going. But let's hope that's not the case. I would absolutely snap your hand up for a point now. So let's see how we go, and hopefully we're talking about a Norwich win, which, like you, I think is possible tonight. Possible, absolutely. Yeah.
You just don't think it's probable.
I just don't think it's probable. No. So there we go. But yeah, it would be some result if they could get anything here. I think tonight against a team. I think if you finish above Leeds this season, you're going to be in the Premier League, but you're probably going to be Championship champions. So yeah, it would be a hell of a result if Norwich City could do it. Pink.com across the place to go throughout the evening. We've got live updates on the Matchday blog, which is up and running now. You can come and shout at me for that prediction if you want in there. We'll have all the analysis and reaction from the two managers and some player reaction stuff in the morning as well. So there we go. Thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you again very soon.